Hello, beautiful artisans. Welcome to Echo Art with Carmella-T. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We focus heavily on recycling or using recycled fabrics and materials, even our threads and even our yarn. I mean, everything and anything that we can think of that we're creating with. If it falls into the recycle area, I'm there. And if you're coming back, welcome back. I'm so grateful to have you. This is what keeps our world spinning, is each other. And so I tell you, the past couple weeks have, or it seems like a couple weeks, but I guess it's been a week. And during that time, I just want to share a little bit with you. A couple of things. Every time I took something out to create, no matter what it was, because I hadn't fully, because I was tired, not fully putting everything back, it started to stockpile on this table. And this table's not that big, but started to stockpile on this table. So yesterday I had to spend, the first day I had some energy. I really had to get things in their places. And I have 16 drawers because, you know, the little cabinets I have, that clear see-through plastic drawers so I can see all my art. I have 16 of them. And none of them were really full, you know, because I kept taking things. So we've got things. There is something said to when you're going into a new season. For example, we're going into summer. This is a great time to clean out. And I have another couple bags in the kitchen that are ready to go to the thrift shop. So now with that, the other thing I wanted to tell everyone is that my book, The Bridge of Life, which is now in a book form extended version. When I first put that out, the original initial poem, I put it out in Kindle, and I put it out rather quickly. I was pretty happy with it. And I thought, well, Kindle, it didn't really format it the same way as it would in a book, but it didn't have spaces either. So I kind of went and took that off. I took it off of the KDP because I did not want that format out there. Now, the book format came out beautifully. I am waiting right now for my author copies. And what I wanted to tell everyone, and I'll wait till I get the book and show you, but at the end of the book, I just take a few words, whatever it is, even a few metaphors of the bridge, and say, my difficult bridge, or my difficult life bridge, or whatever it is, or fun, hiking, happiness, friends, forgiveness. I just take a bunch of words and I put them right smack in the middle of the page on the last 19 pages. And this is for you to take those words and reflect a little bit. And especially after you read the poem. So the poem starts out simplistic, and then it gets a little deeper, and we go a little bit into what I call universal connections, or you may call it the paranormal realms, but all in a good way. This is not by means you're a cliche. So it's quite different, and I'm hoping that people will enjoy it. But I am waiting to get the book, so I just wanted to update you on that, my author copies. And when I get them, which will be, I believe, this week, then I will do a video and share some of the deeper parts of the book and with you. And with all of that said, I am still at the end of my current book I'm writing on how I do my artwork, and bringing you with me on that journey to sharing some of the highlights of this with you. And so that's pushed back a little bit, probably a couple weeks, because I slowed way down this week. And however, I did keep working on it. So now with that, what I want to do is show you one of the other methods of putting a lining in your hat. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to move my coffee, but keep it close by. I may need it. We'll put it right over here. And so the hat, a couple of things. This is what I do. So I'm going to just show you this. This is the hat. Now, when I feel I'm completely done with the hat and I'm ready to put the lining in, I always do a test. First of all, I always go around wherever I'm hand sewing, especially 2 times. I go 2 times. And I'm careful and mindful to make sure these stitches are nice and tight. And you have seen me sewing. I brought you with me at the beginning, actually, of sewing this particular hat. So, and these patches, as you know, I first did the visible stitching or the sashiko stitching. And then I took the patch and I came back around and I put it through the machine. And I wanted to very specifically kind of just play around with the outlining of the flowers, just making kind of that kind of a design as I went along. And I have the flowers going different directions. So it really gives a nice aesthetic to this hat. Now, what I do is I test these edges here. I test the crown, and I'm testing the stitches and the side panels. I want to make sure that there are no spaces. It is very, very easy. I cannot reiterate this enough to accidentally skip a space or two or stitch or two while you are stitching. Sometimes, and I know you've done this, I've done this so many times, but sometimes I'll think I'm reinforcing a certain area and I'm actually one over from it. Or maybe you haven't done it. But anyway, now the other thing I wanted to point out in case you didn't get it. So, okay, so on this side, I just kind of, a couple of things, fraying, and I can't stress this enough, is intricate to this design, to the construct, to how you are building this hat. Fraying is expected. If you don't want fraying and you spray your hat and you're selling your hats, always let people know you sprayed your hat with some kind of adhesive. I don't. I leave it and I suggest if they want to spray the hat, they can. But the beauty of these hats with the raw edges is the fraying, in my opinion. I love it. So anyway, so this hat, what I do is just kind of go around and, clip the little, I'll clip the strings or whatever, threads, and make sure that it is okay and ready to go. Then I turn it inside out. And what I wanted to show you here is I had decided to put these little patches on. These are covering up the inside of the little buttons like that. That are just so adorable for decor. Here's another one. So these were just the little snaps on a shirt. If a shirt is unbuttoned and it's against the skin, it doesn't really bother it. However, I just wanted to take extra precaution to make sure that it doesn't bother whoever. And I did a nice little piece of denim, and it's totally fine. I've tried the hat on and it's beautiful. Now it's going to have another layer, but this is nice and light, as is this jean fabric. That is something else I wanted to say. Fabric, jean fabric, denims. they have different weights. This weight, and I know I have probably mentioned it as I go along, but this weight is definitely a little heavier than this light blue denim. This is a lovely, lovely light cotton. Beautiful. This is a beautiful summer hat. So anyway, I turn it inside out, and I already did this because it took me about a half an hour. I wanted to make sure everything was clipped and knotted. At least I knot them 2, minimum 3 if I can. And what I'll do many times is I'll knot it like this. You can see I knot it a couple of times and I bring it just under the fabric a tiny bit and then clip it. So that just kind of reinforces its stability a little bit. So now, as you go along, as you're sewing, whatever kind of sewing you're doing, sometimes this occurs. You get a piece of thread that's melded in with your other threads. I would leave it. In the ancient old-fashioned days, and when they do sashiko like this, actually, they leave their threads long, and the threads do exactly that naturally, and they're not going to come out. They're just lovely. So, it's such a lovely process. So now this is what I'm going to show you. So I put the hat on the model head, inside out. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, inside out. So, and then I just take a piece of fabric, and you can cut this in a square or you can cut it in a circle, whichever way you want. And I'm just going to pin this. I want to make sure that this drapes all the way down, and it does beautifully. And I'm going to show you the pinned version because many of you know at this point you're knowing how to sew, doing your sashiko stitching. And if not, guess what? We're going to be doing so many more videos with our Boro Inspired, our crazy quilting, our kawandi, and just our creativity, but we'll be using our visible stitching and or machine stitching. So I'm going to put this down. Now what I do is I check where the shortest area is. I'm thinking this is it because I'm looking on this side. Oh, I have another one kind of like that. So this is the shortest area. So I kind of like to use this as a gauge. Okay, I want to use this as a gauge because what I want to do here when I'm done cutting is I'm going to fold it like that. I like to try to have it just a teeny bit above that rim if I can. But anyway, what I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to unfold it and I'm going to pin that because for me, this is my own little creation, you might say. I'm trying to pin it. I need to turn it towards me for a moment. Okay, so I have that pinned, and what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to cut around, using that as a gauge for me to use that as the length that I want. Now, these are really long, so you'd have to fold it 4 or 5 times. So with that, that's what we're going to do. And because I kind of have to see it, I'm going to turn it my way for a moment here and just start cutting. Now, if the cutting going around is not perfectly even, that's okay. Why is it okay? Because you're going to fold it. You're going to fold it once or twice, a nice fold. You don't want it to be too high above the hat because I mean, it depends where you want your seam to end for your lining. But I put mine just some hats are above the rim completely because this hat has no, what I want to say, true pattern or exact measurements going. I'll keep it just above the edge of the brim. Okay, so so it may not be perfect, and that's okay. But I'm being mindful as I go around that it's not too high. Now, the nice thing about this is that after you cut it, if it's still too long, you can trim it a little bit. If it's too high, then you may have to go cut another piece. So this just saves you on your fabric and your time, all in all. I'm bringing this one off here. And this is still a little tiny bit long. So I'm continuing cutting. In this way, it becomes more manageable. I'm saving my scrap pieces because guess what? We will be doing a crazy quilt pretty soon. We're going to do another yo-yo quilt. I don't know how we're going to get these things done, but there's definitely a few things I want to get done for the summer, before the end of summer. So now I'm going to turn this way, and you can see how this is getting shorter. And this is our brim right there. It's right there. So now, but this is really long over here. So I'm on this side just cutting this. Now, you probably notice that I selected fabric that is matching parts of the petals in the hat. So I was lucky enough to have some of this left over. And I'm going to cut this a little more. Now, I would say this too. When you're cutting, just be really patient because a lot of people, they kind of, and you do see this around the internet and just in general. In general, there's a mindset to do things really fast. I do not label this slow stitching or any of that. I label it just what it is. Boro, sashiko, visible, inspired stitching. That's what this is. So I can definitely go at my own rate, right? I mean, I'm not going to go extra slow. However, with that said, if you go too fast, you may end up having to do it over. So now I'm going to start folding, and I've got a nice fold. I just want to show you this on the side. This fold, okay, I'm going to show you this way, but I'm going to fold it in. Now, mind you, you have your print facing you, okay? So, because when you turn the hat inside out, you want the pretty part of the print to show. So if I fold this up, here's the brim right there. And yes, if you have little strings like that, just tuck them in as you sew, as you go around. So look at the hem here. Let's see if I can find my tape measure, because that looks like to me about 1.5 inches. It is. It's about 1.5 inches, but it's not going to be that all around. It might vary a little bit, an inch, this and that. But you definitely want at least 1/8 of an inch. 1.5 inches, I'm super happy with that. I'm going to go with that right there. Now, you don't want too much unless you're doubling it up. But, if you have it, if you don't cut and you're like, oh, I'm just going to fold this and put it up there, you're going to have, and it goes all the way up, like you had 3-4 inches, it's going to bunch up and it will ruin your hat ultimately in that way. So, I'm going to pin this because I'm happy with that I'm going to turn it this way so I can see. But I'm super duper happy with that. So I'm just going to keep folding. And I tuck my little strings in as I go along. And I'm just going to fold this all the way around with you. And then we'll leave the sewing, because all the sewing is one or two ways. You can put it through your machine, a few stitches around, or you can hand stitch it, do your sashiko stitching. And when you hand stitch it, I would say go 2 times around at least. With your hem, you want to make sure, because when they put it on, there's going to be more friction there, probably, than even on top of the hat where all your stitches are, because they'll put it on and off of their head. So now I want to show you this. As I'm going around, I'm just going to undo that for a moment. You see here, I have a fold, but that's okay. And that's kind of long a little bit, but for me, that's okay. I'm going to fold it like this. I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn it towards me so I can see. I'm going to fold it. I'm going with the natural folds of the hat. That's how I do it. That's how I've always done it. So, and this is kind of the fold that you kind of get there. And I don't tighten it like really super tight, because I don't want the hat to be pulling either at the brim. Maybe it won't, because I'm not an expert sewist, but I do know that if the fabric is a little relaxed, it's easier on the stitches. In this case, anyway. So I'm going to fold this. And I'm just going to continue around like that. And then we have another fold, and I just go with it. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. Now, how do you avoid so many folds like I'm doing? You avoid them by fitting it a little bit more to the measure of the hat. These are folds because it's excess fabric. But I love, if you look at this, These are folds. They're just natural with the aesthetic of the fabric. And so, in my book, literally, as you know, there's no right or wrong in your sewing world. It is your world. And like I say, and I say this all the time, as long as it doesn't fall apart, you've got it. Go, girl. I love saying that. I don't get a chance to say that often. How many times have you said, "You go, girl"? And anyway, okay, so this is another fold. And now the other thing you want to consider with your hat, when you're building a hat like this, is at the bottom here, these rims, you see the seams. We know that our seams, our waistbands, all the scraps that we got from our jeans or our coats or whatever we're using are quilted. These are quilted. And so, there's jean material, there's some kind of cotton or batting, and then there's more. So these are very thick areas. So this is just a tip from me, is you can sew through the first and second layer of your seam around your brim of your hat. Why do I say that? Because to me, you've got a stitch that's half hidden, so it's a little more secure. I think it would be nice. It grabs the fabrics better, and so it'd be more secure. That's my thoughts on it. So, okay, now we're almost done folding this hat. And I just really do want to show you what it looks like. And this is all in real time. So, and here I am talking and gabbing. And you can see it's really not taking that long. And just fold like, fold about two inches width at a time. I mean, I think if you go more than that, it's going to be difficult for you. It will be, you're trying to, and then the worst that's going to happen is you're going to be like, I don't like the way that fold is. So then you go back and you just kind of do what I would say is a minimal adjustment, because it's not going to be too serious. Whoops, this one I folded it too high. There we go. And I'm going to show you here. When I sew, first of all, I'm going to straighten this out. But when I sew, I just want to show you, I'll sew right above here. So I'm not going to, like here, it's touching the rim. But as I come back around, I neaten that up. I bring it up a tiny bit. And I go very carefully. But it still doesn't take that long. All in all, considering that you're hand sewing. Okay, and this is the last part of it. And then I want to turn it inside out and show you what to look for to adjust. And see, look, this is the last. You see the folds? The folds are pretty consistent. They're just lovely. Okay, I'm going to fold the last one. And the way I fold it is I'm just letting the fold fall as it naturally would. And then I'm folding. That's how I'm doing it. So I turn it this way because I can't see it that way really good. And now, if your folds create bunches, then consider a little bit more of a trim. And also, this is something else that I think if you're making your hat for, and sometimes I forget to say this, if you're making your hat for art and craft show, or you're making your hat for a friend, give them a little card on how to clean their art wear fashioned hat. Because this is a piece of art. This isn't the kind of hat you want to throw into the washing machine, for sure. You do not want to throw it into the washing machine. Rather, suggest a couple of things. Spray with tepid water and pat dry. I think that's the very best. Actually, that's very gentle and lovely on the fraying. Because if they don't want their fraying, then they can clip their fraying a little bit too at that time. If they want to really wash it, I would suggest they wash it in a basin. And because I've had many people tell me, oh, I have a front loader, I'm going to put it in a front loader. And they put, vintage pieces in there. And I think, depending on the piece and how sturdy it is. But the only reason I say a basin is because there you have complete control over really, you're seeing what's happening. If you're agitating it too much, you'll know. You'll know immediately. So, and you don't want to, you just kind of want to soak it a little bit in water just above it and then rinse it out. And the reason I don't emphasize soap is because soap, excuse me, soap can act as a degrading, it can degrade wool, it can degrade organic fabrics if it's left on and not rinsed out completely. So if there is any kind of soaps, you want to make sure it's very mild, very limited, and the piece is very well rinsed. So, and of course, you don't need to explain all of that, but always put a card. This is fashion wear, art wear, best clean by spraying and dabbing. That's what I would suggest. Anyway, okay, so this hat, now I pinned it. So what you want to do, or what I do anyway, is I come back around and I will be doing this today. And of course, I take a little bit longer than I take in the video here, but I take a good look at it. I'm looking at it on the inside. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. As I go around, I am refining my folds. I'm not just stitching, boom, throwing it through the machine or whatnot. I'm refining my folds. If I feel maybe it's too thick or it's too bunchy, I will take it out and clip it a little bit and make it more conducive to the aesthetic of the hat. So I just love that. So I wanted to share that with you. I love this hat. So now with that, maybe I won't do the sewing machine, but I definitely want to show you something. So as you know, one of the last video, we put together these patterns. I'm totally going to go with these patterns, but I wanted to take a couple apart. Maybe these two. We'll leave those two alone for a moment. And I want to show you the kind of different things that you can make with this shape. And the reason is that you can make heart shapes, and you can still do your Boro Sashiko or your visible stitching. Does it fall in any particular category? It's old American, English. I mean, if you want to, but it's pretty much generally accepted in knowledge that it's an applique. And so let's put this down. I'm going to show you. This is kind of what I was thinking, and this just kind of came to my mind, is, you can make like butterflies like that, and maybe take a piece and kind of fold this a couple times. Look, because see, you have the points here, so you can capitalize on that and maybe put this through like that, and or play around with how you're placing the wings. Look, we can even make this would, this right here, look, this could be a flower, but guess what? You put this in the middle, and yes, you have a very pretty butterfly. In my opinion, that's a butterfly. So you can make a butterfly like that. You can, and maybe this is a given for some people, but maybe some people didn't realize it either. You can put kind of the wings like that. And if you make a longer piece, Okay, let's see if I have a seam here. I might not. Or you have a piece. Oh yeah, look. You have a ribbon even. I mean, look. Let's say you had a piece of ribbon. You could put through like that, you know? And so you're making your coin bag. Look how beautiful that is. Seriously. Just tweak that a little bit and you have a beautiful dragonfly. Um, so this is basically, and you can make other shapes with this. But that's basically what I really wanted to share with you is, you can make a butterfly, you can make a dragonfly, you can make different types of flowers. You could do a scene like here's a flower down here, and then up here you have sun. You have the sun, and let's say let's say here's your ribbon again. You want to use this. You can take your ribbon, or and you can stitch it in place like that, or you can take a seam, another seam, and maybe you coil this and make a little rose. So I'm just kind of giving you some ideas because I am getting very heavily, I can feel it coming on very heavily in the creative mode. And I am going to be, this is why I kind of went through the drawers to get them neat now, because when I go through this mode, everything comes out. I mean, everything. The buttons, the ribbons, the zippers, the belts, the seams, the scrap fabrics, everything. Because I want to make some summery scenes on my coin bags. And on the hats, I would like to do one with dragonflies. So the dragonfly that you just saw me make, I'm probably going to do it that way. And here, I may take, like, if I get a seam, I was kind of looking for one that was a little thin. This might do. So this seam is, I think, really good. I might trim it a little more or just sew it kind of like that. But that seam would be really, really good for a dragonfly or a butterfly. And I could put this underneath the wings, play around with it and see how it comes out. I guess it's going to go. I guess when you look at a butterfly, or the anatomy of them, is their body is coming like you see it. So this is what I would do is because I saw a butterfly the other day and that's all I needed to see. It was on the porch and it was the most beautiful. Look how lovely. So yeah, I saw a butterfly and it was pretty cool out. And it looked quickly like a monarch. And then I thought maybe it was some kind of a just beautiful black and orange moth. I don't know. It wasn't predominantly orange with black spots like a monarch. It was predominantly black with some beautiful splashes of orange. It was gorgeous. So it may have been a moth, but I can't get that butterfly out of my mind. So I'll be making butterflies, and I wanted to share that with you. So with that, I hope that it helps. If you have questions on finishing your hat, let me know. What I did with this one is I turned the same design predominantly as different sizes, different ways all around the hat. So when someone tries the hat on, they're going to get a different, depending what they want to do, they will get a different design. And for the brim, you remember in the last video, and if you didn't see it, it's just the very last video. Go ahead back and watch it. Oh, I'll put the link in the content. And it was uneven. right? The panels were all uneven. So these are just seams that I put on, coming around, and I wanted a darker one just to give it a little contrasting, give it a little artsy flair, a little different. So anyway, with that, I hope that you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for being with me, and we'll see you in the next one very shortly.